Good morning. It's Monday, April 3rd. I want to remind everybody that this is a 4-day school week as we roll right into Easter weekend, and we are rounding third, folks. We are in the fourth quarter now, and wanted to take this opportunity to make sure everybody continues to stay on top of their grades as we finish this school year. I did not get any questions this week for Ask the Superintendent. However, I did want to take this opportunity to address a situation that caused some level of anxiety, or a lot of anxiety, at Sealston Elementary School this past Thursday. We had a student who found a bullet on the ground in a classroom. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank the student for turning that into school administration. It's a very heroic act, a very hard thing to do as a young student, and I want to publicly take this opportunity to thank that student. Given the national events we've had concerning school and school shootings, it's a very scary time. It's a very scary time for school administrators. It's a very scary time for parents. And I do want to create this video and let you all know that, given all those tragic events, King George County Schools is doing the best we possibly can to stay on top of safety and security in our school division. It is our paramount responsibility. We consider all 4,500 students in this county our students, and we want to make sure that we do everything we possibly can to ensure their safety. And we do that to the best of our ability. I can tell you that unfortunately, in light of these challenging incidents that happen across our country right now in schools, one of the things that has come of it is a lot of discussion and a lot of talk about school safety and what we need to do to remain safe. I can tell you that every year we have a cohort of administrators and teachers that attend national school safety conferences. We always come back and we talk a whole lot about policies and procedures and practices that we have in place that will do the best job we possibly can to ensure safety. Nevertheless, when we have these national events and even when we have the events here at the school level, questions arise, and questions are good. Questions are, they help refine our processes and procedures. So I do want to just discuss some of those things that we have in place right now to make sure that we are doing the best job that we possibly can in instances like this. So again, going back to the situation at Sealston, what occurred was a student brought to the attention of administration that he had found a bullet on the ground in the classroom. And what was immediately done is what we call an informal threat assessment. And again, this is administration, counseling, everybody quickly coming together to find out what to do. And in that instance, we make a very quick judgment call, and we decide whether or not we need to conduct a lockdown, whether or not we need to conduct an evacuation, and if a lockdown is preferred, what type of lockdown do we have to conduct? Is it a full lockdown? Is it where we lock down all classrooms, the entire school? Is it a partial lockdown? A partial lockdown is one where we lock down the exterior of the building as if the threat is outside of the building, and we still allow teachers to conduct instruction within the classroom. Or do we conduct what's referred to as a localized lockdown, where we feel that the threat may be localized to a particular classroom or a particular place in the building, where we decide to just pause movement and gives us an opportunity to stop, pause, think about what we need to do, and discuss it amongst the adults in the building. So in this instance, it was a localized lockdown. The counseling staff and the administration staff did not allow the students to shift classrooms. We paused. We asked each other questions. We decided what we needed to do as far as moving forward. Once that informal lockdown takes place, we decide what we need to do. In this instance, we are possibly trying to assess whether or not there's any additional threat or concern. I can tell you that it was very, very quick, given the circumstances, relatively quick decision that there was no safety concern. There was no additional threat beyond what we had established the lockdown area to be. So from there, oftentimes the questions is, can we search? Can we look through backpacks? Can we look through students' belongings? Can we look into lockers? Can we search and seize? We do have a policy in place. Our policy is JFG. This is the policy that is across the Commonwealth of Virginia. It is one that every school division uses. And for school officials, in order for us to search an individual's belongings, we have to have reasonable suspicion. And that word has two specific terms that are very clearly defined. Reasonable means that the search has to be within a scope and looking, a reasonable scope, and we need to be looking for specific items. We need to know specifically where we're looking for those items, and it has to be in a place that we believe it to be. So, in other words, in this instance, with the Sealston situation, if one student finds a bullet on the ground, at that point, we have to determine how wide that search can be. That search at that point is not to search every single student in the building. That search at that point is not to search every single adult in the building. We have to be specific on what it is that we're searching for and what it is that we are hoping to locate. Those are oftentimes difficult questions to have or difficult questions to answer. We need to make sure that we balance in that instance, as well as any situation that I've been involved with in public education, with school safety, but also student and individual rights, just as is the case in society. So that's one of the questions that we often get: how wide and how broad can this search occur? The next thing that we often get asked is what type of decision-making process do we go into following that initial information? I can tell you that, again, every year we go to what is called the National Threat Assessment Conference. The threat assessment process right now in Virginia is very, very thorough. It is one where we pull together within the building individuals that have expertise in their particular areas. So in a public school building, it is school administration, it is your school counselor, it is your school social worker, it involves the school resource officer. All of these individuals come together with their particular areas of expertise. They identify the threat, they inquire about any additional threats, they assess the situation. And again, it's a probably 10 to 15 page document that they have to go through in order to deeply assess this threat and really how serious of a threat it is. Oftentimes coming out of that threat assessment process, now again, on the front end, we talked about the informal threat assessment. That's, quick, on the fly, what are we going to do in the next moments? Once we get the situation under control, we go into this much broader, much more involved threat assessment process that involves all those individuals that I just mentioned. And coming out of that threat assessment process, it's our responsibility to determine the level of the threat. And it also involves oftentimes a visit to an individual's house. When we're talking about guns and violence and things of that nature, we often go and try to figure out if that child, student, adult, or whoever has access to any weapons at home. It involves a wellness check that goes well beyond the walls of the school. So it's a very deep and involved process that we conduct to make sure that we have a deep appreciation for the threat and the potential for any additional threat beyond that. So the threat assessment process right now in Virginia and across the state across the country is one that is very deep. So again, going through this process and figuring out this information, there's a lot of practices and procedures that we have in place that we work through to make sure that we're doing the best job that we possibly can to identify any future concerns. So on the front end, it's that informal threat assessment process. Very quickly after that, it's our determination as to whether to lock down, evacuate the building, which type of lockdown we need. Right in that process, I should have also mentioned at that point, the superintendent is contacted, the sheriff's department is contacted. I should mention at this point that we have a very good working relationship with our sheriff's department, one in which we meet monthly to talk about threat assessment, to talk about our crisis management plans and how we work together to make sure that we're doing exactly what we need to do to ensure that our children are safe. The process right now, again, because of, I don't know if I want to define it this way, but the silver lining in these incidences that are occurring across the country right now are that we are spending a lot of time focusing on student safety and figuring out the most thorough and well-established practices both within the public school arena and in the law enforcement arena, and how those policies and practices mesh. So I can assure you that we're doing a good job making sure that we're focusing on those things. And in fact, I can tell you that at this point, every year in public education in every school division across the Commonwealth, we're required to do what is called a Virginia School Safety Audit. And what we do is look back at the past year, look at some of the situations that may or may not have occurred, not just within the school division, but across the state and across the country, and reassess our safety practices. This is the entire binder for what we do every year when it comes to the school safety audit. There's 5 components to that. We have to do a school and division safety survey, which surveys those in the division and those within each school on safety practices, questions, concerns that they may have. We have an updated crisis management plan, which is in this, that we exercise with tabletop exercises and conversations all throughout the year. We do a Virginia school survey of climate and working conditions. That's part of this. And then the last thing we do every summer is a school safety inspection checklist, which with the school resource officer and the maintenance staff in each school building, we go and make sure that all of our locks on the buildings, all of our fences, everything that ensures safety within the school building is up to date. And we take a look with just an honest eye over the summer as to whether or not we are being as safe as we possibly can moving into the next school year. So there's a lot that goes into this process. Now, with all that being said, I know that it's just a very challenging time. It's a scary time. It's a scary time for parents. I'm a parent myself of 3 children within the school division. Many of our school administrators have children within the school division, and really we've always considered all 4,500 children within King George County our children. It's a scary time when you turn on the news. So I want everyone to know that we take that responsibility very seriously. We consider that responsibility paramount in everything else we do in public education, beyond instruction, beyond teaching, beyond classroom management, beyond everything that we do in this business. School safety is our utmost concern. So we often get the question, can you guarantee my child's safety? Just as I know as a parent, I know as a school administrator, and I believe we all know as parents, we cannot guarantee safety. But I can tell you that everything I've just described and all of the time we spend, we are doing a relatively good job making sure that we have school safety on the forefront of our thought every single day. We make sure that it's our focus. We make sure it's something that we spend time on. I know we're in the business of education, we're in the business of instruction, but beyond those 2 very important jobs that we have, ahead of those important jobs we have, school safety is paramount. So I know it's difficult to send your child to school every day sometimes with that fear. I want you to know that we are taking every situation extremely seriously. We are going through all of these policies, practices, and procedures, whether it has to do with identifying a threat, figuring out what we need to do in the process through our crisis management plan, locking down, evacuating, searching, and seizing, all of those things. We have very clear and defined plans at this point. And as we move forward, we'll continue to develop those plans based on some of the things that we see across the country. We'll continue to get better. The situation at Sealston, I can assure everyone that it was handled to the best of our administrators and counseling staff's ability. They did a good job following those practices and procedures. And I know it's a very challenging time and one that is scary and one that we continue to ask questions about. But please know that here in King George County, we are taking safety and security very seriously, and we want everyone, as best as they can, to know that sending your children to school here in King George County is a safe endeavor. And we appreciate everyone's care and cooperation when it comes to these challenging times. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Please remember that this Friday is a holiday, and we're rolling into Easter weekend. So thank you all, and I look forward to a great week of school.